What's up everyone and welcome to the show. I'm your host Eric. Today we're talking about the Canon 5D Mark IV. So if you're a videographer or filmmaker, you probably know that Canon has been the go-to company for imaging devices with their DSLRs and their camcorders, but most specifically the DSLRs. The Canon 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark III have been revolutionary DSLRs that really changed the game for videography, and a lot of filmmakers and freelance videographers have fallen in love with them. But Canon's really fallen behind. Panasonic has now the GH4, Sony has the A7S, the A7R, which are compact mirrorless cameras that offer a lot of functionality for videography as well as 4K resolution, and the images coming out of all these cameras look amazing. And really that just shows that Canon is, well, falling behind. And so we've really been looking forward to an upgrade to the 5D Mark IV, which Canon has finally come out with. Now, disclaimer, I don't actually own the 5D Mark IV, I haven't used it, but since we have had the announcement and people have been getting the 5D Mark IV, I want to make this video to explain to you a little bit about the 5D Mark IV and why you should or should not get it, because there's a lot of great features, but a lot of not so great features. So let's dive in with the actual design itself. So the 5D Mark IV design-wise is very similar to the 5D Mark III. It's a relatively pretty big DSLR, which is very different from a lot of the 4K cameras we have now because a lot of them are mirrorless. This is still a full DSLR, but it feels still really good in your hands. It has a very robust and really solid build quality. But so looking at new features in the 5D Mark IV, at least when it comes to videography, first up we have 4K at 30 frames per second, and they also upped the frame rate for lower resolutions, so HD standard 1920 by 1080, you can now do up to 60 frames per second, which is going to be really nice if you want to do like half slow motion. And then at 720p, now there's 120 frames per second. Another new feature is dual pixel AF, which is going to be really great autofocusing built into the camera. Now, a lot of people are still going to shoot manual focusing, and that's completely fine, but if you do need autofocusing, the new 5D is going to have great autofocusing. It also has a touchscreen on the back, which can be able to tap to focus, which actually is a greater feature than you might think. I could have a subject in my foreground and then of course the background, and by just tapping on the screen, I can rack focus to the background to my subject to the background without having to have a ton of gear to manually rack focus. Going back to the 4K though, it's going to be DCI 4K, which is 4096 by 2160, that's the resolution, which is a higher resolution than most 4K cameras these days. Also, it's going to be shooting at 4228 8-bit, which is an improvement from most cameras which shoot at 420. And of course, because of the new 4K resolution and frame rates and all that, there's going to be a new processor built into the 5D Mark IV, which is going to be improving the low light capabilities of this camera. Now, I just mentioned some of the basic features that I really care about. There's also going to be Wi-Fi built in, Bluetooth, there's a new dual pixel RAW, and there's a ton of other new features in this camera, but that's besides the point. I'm here to focus on specific things. So overall, you know, the 5D Mark IV seems to be pretty good. I mean, better low light, 4K, 4228 8-bit, but what's the downside of this? And there's a lot of downsides. First up, and I think these can be overlooked, there's no zebras, there's no focus peaking, and I didn't really expect that to be in the 5D Mark IV. That's really in Canon's Cinema lineup. There also is no C-Log, but I've seen people find a way to essentially install C-Log profiles. So you can work around that to get more dynamic range if you want to, so that's not too bad. What is very aggravating though is the following. First, in 4K, if you're shooting in 4K that is, you cannot use the entire sensor for video. It crops in, I think, like a 1.74 crop factor, which essentially is going to make this more of an APS-C size sensor, so you can't get the full frame look, which is rather disappointing. There also is no 4K clean output. Now, when Sony announced the A7S, The A7S did not have 4K internal recording. That means I had to have an external recorder plugged into the HDMI on the A7S. Now, the Canon 5D Mark IV has an HDMI out that is clean, but it only does HD. It doesn't do 4K. Now, some people might not care about the clean output because most people are going to be recording internally to like an SD card, but recording video in 4K might be a nightmare for some people because when shooting in 4K, it uses the Motion JPEG compression and not H.264. Motion JPEG really isn't actually compressed, so the file sizes you're going to have are going to be enormous. You're talking 500 megabits per second. So if you record for like an hour or so, and don't quote me on this, but if you're recording for like an hour, you're gonna get well over 100 gigabytes of video. For some people that might be manageable, but for me, I need now more hard drives if I'm gonna be getting the 5D Mark IV. And even a video like this, I probably shoot about 30 minutes of video, so if I have 50 gigabytes of files just for this simple video, that's a lot to go through, manage, and then edit. Also, in terms of shooting, there's still going to be a 29-minute record limit, which is rather disappointing. Now, I expected the record limit, so it's not that big of a deal, but I still wish that there wasn't that record limit. But just saying, if I could have 4K clean HDMI out, then I can plug this into a recorder and record for as long as I want, technically. But anyway, what do you think about this camera? Some of the big things for me that I like about it is the 4K 422 8-bit, the dual pixel for great autofocusing, better low light, and the fact that I can use Canon glass because I love Canon glass. But I don't know if I can get over the crop factor, about the huge file size, and also that there's no clean HDMI out. I think I can get past the crop factor because I'll be able to use wider lenses, and the 4K out I might be able to live with, but I don't know how I'm going to deal with the large file size. I cannot use huge file sizes in my current editing platform. It will just not work out well for me. I shoot way too much video. I cannot have terabytes upon terabytes of simple videos like this. It would just be way too much for me. I'm still considering the 5D Mark IV, but I'll have to kind of figure out how I'm going to get over some of that. So what do you guys think about this camera? Let me know in the comment section below. If you do want to buy it, I will have links down below. It's $3,500 for the body only and around $4,500 with a kit lens. I think it's like the 24 to 105 or 24 to 70. But all the links, like I said, down below. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Anyway, that's the video for today. I'm Eric. I'll catch you in the next one.